surrounded by wrestling fans. Not sports entertainment fans. Professional wrestling fans! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! This is
the Wrestling Matters Podcast, a podcast that stands up for professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters. So join the revolution, because the revolution is now.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's that HEAD, welcoming you to another installment of the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Hope you're all well, hope you're having a good week and whatever it is you are doing. And it has been quite a busy week in the world of professional wrestling. And we're going to talk Raw, we're going to talk SmackDown, we're going to talk TNA, NXT, and Ring of Honor. Also, we're going to talk as well a little bit about certain couple of topics, which I'm going to start to talk about today. Now, it seems that TNA have changed their mind about the upcoming Slammiversary show, or they changed their mind before the upcoming Slammiversary pay-per-view show that they had, which was, as this is going out Monday, which was yesterday. Now, they decided to make the King of the Mountain main event, which was fine. And the King of the Mountain, to test of Matt Hardy, Jeff Jarrett, yes, a guy who is now the boss of Global Force Wrestling, but decided to come and have one more last hurrah with TNA, so to speak. And it had Drew Galloway and Eric Young as well. And not having a World Championship match on one of your biggest shows is kind of questionable. And I don't know if that would, if that was work. EC3 was still on the card. He was facing, he was tag teaming with Tyrus against Mr. Anderson and Lashley. So, to have that match to have it that way instead of the world title, I still would have put the world championship on, but I would have put it as the semi-main event, and then the King of the Mountain, the last man, the last part of the show, the main event, if you will. But I don't know, it's kind of disrespectful to Kurt Angle, especially EC3. I mean, you've got, like I said, Slammiversary has always been one of TNA's biggest pay-per-views, and for it not to be on, for it not to have the World Championship match, a questionable move with TNA, but, who knows. We'll mock the, I will review that on next week's episode of the podcast. Now, also, a bit of breaking news that I'm getting from a certain website, a reliable website. It seems, after all the questions of what he was going to do, because his contract was coming up for expansion, contract running out, all the questions whether or not he will resign or not, because he's not getting that push, will he decide to go elsewhere or whatever. It seems that Dolph Ziggler has decided to re-sign with WWE. Now, is that a good move? Yes, because, Dolph Ziggler's Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler at the moment is the man. But long term, is he going to get that push that everybody wants him to get? Push back to the World Championship. Is he going to get that way? Is he going to be that person? I don't know. I hope so, to be honest, because he needs to be back up there in the main event spot, in the main event position, but will he be allowed to be up there? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how things go. Now, apparently, I'm reading here, TNA Talent, apologies for that, TNA Talent are going to be working on Global Force Wrestling events. Now, that's weird considering Dixie came... I read on the website that Dixie was going to pull the plug on people going to Global Force Wrestling, but it seems that Dixie and Jeff have come to some sort of agreement to allow this to happen, so to speak. I mean, but Jeff going back to working the King of the Mountain match and everything. I don't know. But Magnus has already been confirmed to be working on the Global Force Wrestling TV tapings in Las Vegas, Nevada. So maybe there's a talent exchange going on between Global Force Wrestling and TNA. I don't know. Maybe that could work. You know, the company that Jeff Jarrett now runs, Global Force Wrestling, and the company that Jeff Jarrett founded, along with his dad, TNA. But it wasn't the same TNA, and probably wasn't the same, company that Jeff Jarrett founded, to be honest with you, or the same idea, considering the direction it's turned. But I think that could be positive, a positive way of for them to, especially TNA, to go in that direction. But whether it will work or not remains to be seen. Yeah, it's going to be a busy month for wrestling in July, and I'm looking forward to seeing these Global Force Wrestling events. We'll just have to wait and see how things go in that respect. But I'm actually looking forward to see how this pans out. I mean, I saw Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle slating Global Force Wrestling. I had the little clip on YouTube, them two just fucking bashing Jeff Jarrett and Global Force Wrestling before it even begins. I don't know. I don't know what the full background is. They might know more than I do. I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't care. But I'm willing to give GFW a chance. I just hope that Jeff Jarrett doesn't make the mistakes that he did when he was running TNA, which cost him his TNA position. I'm liking the idea from what I've seen. I'm liking the concept of GWF. I'm willing to give it a shot, and hopefully you can make some good wrestling, and bring the best and bring professional wrestling back and be a part of this professional wrestling movement, this stand up for professional wrestling movement, and a stand up movement that I use on this show and use to a great deal, because, ladies and gentlemen, all I want to do is bring the best in professional wrestling on this program, on this podcast, whatever you want to call it. Because I don't settle for second best, I settle for nothing but the best. That's why I bring you stuff like ICW, Ring of Honor, NXT. Yes, I'm going to bring you WWE, because I've been watching that all my life, and they probably wouldn't be wrestling without WWE, despite the direct. I'm also going to bring you Impact Wrestling, TNA Impact Wrestling. Again, despite the fact the direction that's gone, but the amount of cuts and losses and whatever the fuck they've gone through. But at the end of the day, guys, all I want to do is bring the best in professional wrestling to this podcast. Now, I'm hoping GFW can do this themselves, and hopefully Jeff Jarrett can get there to a way to compete with what they're trying to bring, what they're trying to achieve. Are they looking to compete? Probably not. But I'm all for somebody trying to bring the best in professional wrestling. Will that work or not? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm willing to give GFW a chance. Unlike some other people who do podcasts as well, who just bash it before the thing even begins, I'm willing to give it a chance. Like I said, I just hope Jeff Jarrett does not make the mistakes that he made with TNA. Let's face it, he did good for TNA, but he made a lot of mistakes in the process. So I'm willing to give it a shot no matter what. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I've been thinking about adding a few more stuff to the podcast as well. Didn't do my research during the week and of what to bring you and what I should review. There's this thing called Review Pro Wrestling. Is it Rev Pro UK? It's a UK based wrestling promotion, which I could see on YouTube and that. I'm pondering whether or not to bring that to you here on the podcast. A lot of people say I should. We'll have to wait and see. I'll have to watch one of the shows to see if it's any good. Also, I saw Booker T's doing his thing, Reality of Wrestling, ROW. I'm pondering out whether to put their TV show and bring their TV show to this podcast as well and review that. So either way, guys, I'm just trying to bring the best in professional wrestling to this podcast, because as the motto says, guys, the Wrestling Matters podcast, where wrestling matters. # stand up for professional wrestling, because trust me, there's no such thing as sports entertainment on this podcast. Now, with that being said, ladies and gents, I will take a little quick time out, and after the break I will bring you the Raw review, or the Raw main talking points. So stay tuned. Be sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only, ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland. Well, I'll be reviewing their shows.
Oh my God!
Talking ICW.
That's 13-14!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra ICW podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name. Here we fucking go!
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kenny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shubs.
Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome everyone back to the Wrestling Matters Podcast. This is me, it's at HEAD. Now it's time for the Raw review. That's right, the Raw main talking points. And Raw kicked off this week with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. The sound you hear isn't the only rumble of Brock Lesnar's return, but also the distant suffering of papers officially negating the Beast's incarnate suspension, as wheeled and dealt by the one and only Paul Heyman. The Conqueror has added litigation to his list of foes. Lesnar, first order of business on Raw was to seal the deal of apologizing to JBL and Michael Cole for laying them out back in March after WrestleMania. He accomplished it, though, a pair of handshakes to the wrestling god and the petrified Cole. With those pleasantries out the way, it was back to the task in hand. Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at the Battleground pay-per-view. Heyman was practically frothing at the mouth to hype the match, not just for this time its personal vibe that typically accompanies such confrontations, but because both the Advocate and his Conqueror client were 1,000% confident that the title would soon be restored to around Lesnar's waist. For the first time in a long time, the WWE Universe seemed to agree. I suppose I'll do this one. The Devil's favorite olive branch. How else could you describe Seth Rollins' inflexible interference in the Estranged Forces Kane's match against the Anakin's own personal thorn in the side, or the Architect's own personal thorn in the side, Dean Ambrose? 1 week after Rollins had cast him aside as a 7-foot pile of dead weight squeezed into a suit, the Architect's appearance was especially fortuitous for the former World Heavyweight Champion, and Ambrose had Kane all but dead to rights in their match after grinding his way to a near advantage. After Ambrose hacked Kane to the ground with his rebound lariat and hooked Kane's arms for the dirty deed, Rollins' music distracted the Lunatic Fringe and gave Kane his second wind. With Rollins' help, Kane sealed the win by chokeslamming Ambrose right off the top turnbuckle. Not bad for a peace offering, bad news for Rollins, though it wasn't enough. The tag team champions beat the Ascension. That's right. I think it's safe to say the Ascension should just basically go back to NXT, to be honest, because they're not getting anything, and whatever plans seem to be on the horizon for the Ascension have went down the wasteland, so to speak. Sheamus had a match with Roman Reigns which ended in a no contest, thanks to one Bray Wyatt. It's almost redundant to say that Neville did something to make you believe a man could fly, but there was it again on Raw, leaping Kofi Kingston in a single bound, despite the attempt interference of the dreaded Lock Dynamo's brothers in positivity. Happily, they would be counteracted by the primetime players, even though the ensuing scuffle ended with all four interlopers being ejected from ringside. Neville sealed the latest chapter of the Attitude Era, or the Altitude Era, all the same, clocking Kingston with an enziguri and hitting the Red Arrow to end it with a victory. Now, King Barrett beats Zack Ryder. I think Zack Ryder, quite frankly, should stick to the NXT thing that he's got going on, because that seems to be very fun. As yet another self-styled king might say, it's on like a pot of neck bones. Kevin Owens called out John Cena for the US title match and took out Machine Gun Kelly as a warning shot. The champ responded in his first Raw in 2 weeks by addressing the NXT champion, challenge for the Stars and Bars at Battleground on July 19th. Owens' game, a verbal one-upmanship, continued when he mockingly responded to the C Nation leader in French. But Cena spat fire in French and Chinese in return. A long or short of it, Cena accepted the challenge, told Owens to put it up or shut up, and settled their differences at Battleground. After all, those colours don't run. Should be very interesting at Battleground, which I'll be looking forward to seeing. The Battle Twins beat Naomi and Tamia. The Intercontinental Champion Ryback beats Mark Henry, despite after the match having a confrontation with the Big Show. Dolph Ziggler beats Adam Rose. It was basically a job match. What's Adam Rose done for you lately? So it comes to this. Seth Rollins, the man who did it all on his own, was forced to grovel his way back into the Authority's good graces and go back to square one again. It was all in an attempt to regain his precious support system before he goes to the mat with Brock Lesnar at Battleground. Kane and J&J Security seemed relatively amended to Rollins' proposition, but when Lesnar crashed the party, only the Devil's favorite demon stayed to defend Rollins from the Beast with a sneak attack. Despite Lesnar intentionally getting the better of Rollins, Kane managed to land a chokeslam, at which point Rollins and Joe E. Mercury quickly closed the ranks, and against all odds, the corporate power got the job done. The Authority targeted Lesnar's leg, set him up for the pedigree, and as Raw faded to the black, Lesnar had been taken down. Paul Heyman was silent, the champion was standing tall, and his comrades were once again at his side. Here comes the pain for Seth Rollins, because he might well enjoy this while he can. Lesnar injured Jamie Noble during this melee, because I'll tell you this, Seth Rollins, I'm pretty much banking on you losing the championship at Battleground. And that is the end of the Raw main talking points. Now we'll just not waste any time, guys, and go straight over to SmackDown main talking points. And not much on SmackDown this week, quite frankly. The Authority called out Ryback. The WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, flanked by Joey Mercury and Corporate Kane, started off SmackDown by rejoicing over their successful trip to Suplex City on Monday. After dedicating the show to Jamie Noble, who suffered broken ribs at the hands of Brock Lesnar, the newly reunited Authority called out the Intercontinental Champion Ryback for taking out the Big Show on Raw. An emotional exchange between champions prompted the Director of Operations to put himself in a match against the Human Wrecking Ball. Then the Authority were leaving. The Architect, fed up with the lack of respect shown to him, announced he would battle Dean Ambrose later on in the evening to finish off the Lunatic Fringe once and for all. Sheamus beats Dolph Ziggler as well, despite Rusev's humbled way of trying to plead Lana to take him back. When's that going to end? Alicia Fox beats Naomi. Yes, you heard me right. Alicia Fox, the seem-to-be newest member of the Bella Twins, beats Naomi. Ryback beats Kane by disqualification, thanks to the Big Show. Before Ryback could even finish saying "feed me more" during his entrance to face Kane, he was blindsided by the Big Show, who viciously attacked the Human Wrecking Ball before tossing him into the match for Kane. WWE's Director of Operations looked to pick up a quick win by ordering the referee to stop the match, but both he and the world's largest athlete clearly underestimated the big guy's heart. An battled Ryback continued to fight back, nearly defeating the corporate demon before the world's largest athlete once again got involved in the contest, causing a disqualification. The victory would be a little gratification for the Intercontinental Champion, though, as he was then left devastated by the two giant chokeslams from his Battleground challenger, or one of them at least. Primetime Players and Lucha Dragons defeat Bo Dallas and the New Day. I'm all about Bo Dallas getting his ass whipped. And for the main event of the evening, with Roman Reigns, who was incensed after discovering another creepy cut-out picture from Bray Wyatt, ejected from the building by Corporate Kane, Dean Ambrose was left to battle Seth Rollins without his brother to watch his back. The Lunatic Fringe put up a valiant effort, but multiple disruptions from the Corporate Kane and Joey Mercury eventually proved to be the difference. After the unstable Ambrose pulled Mercury into the ring to try and hit Dirty Deeds, the Architects took advantage by hitting the pedigree for the victory, and further proved that the United Authority is forced to be reckoned with again, and proven that Seth Rollins can do the job on his own again. Despite what he's gone through these past month, it's all back to square one again, which is quite frankly ridiculous. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the SmackDown and Raw main points. I'll be back after this with NXT main talking points, so stay tuned. For new episodes of the Wrestling Matters podcast, as well as other great professional wrestling related content, be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters channel on YouTube at www.youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters. You'll get weekly episodes of the podcast, and you'll get other great wrestling content as well. Be sure to check it out, subscribe, like, and do all that good stuff. The Wrestling Matters channel, where wrestling matters, on YouTube. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now we'll just get straight into it. It's time for the NXT main talking points. Hideo Itami addressed the WWE Universe this week, making his first appearance since the brutal parking lot attack that left him with a torn rotator cuff even, and forced him out of the number one contenders triple threat match in Unstoppable. Hideo Itami wasted no time in setting up his return to the ring, though he will be out of action for 3 to 4 months. Itami issued a challenge to the winner of the NXT Championship match between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor July the 4th in Japan, upon his return from injury. As soon as the challenge was issued, Owens emerged to deny any accusations that he was Itami's attacker, and demanded an apology from Itami for calling him a bad person prior to TakeOver. After Itami refused, Owens stormed to the ring only to be cut off by Balor. The engagement number one contender, the number one contender to the championship, fucking long words, man, Jesus, got the upper hand on Owens, but was blindsided by Rhino, who viciously kicked him off the stage. In a near repeat of their battle earlier this month, following the fracas, General Manager William Regal announced that Balor would take on the Man-Beast in the main event. The tag match that saw Enzo Amore, Colin Cassidy versus Jason Jordan and Sylvester Leaford. Jordan's search for a new partner continued this week with Sylvester, who he teamed up with to face Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. Though the pairing of Jordan and Leaford seemed to gel at first, a breakdown in communication led to Amore rolling Jordan up for the victory in the bout, leaving the amateur wrestling standouts furious and most likely search for another part. Excusez-moi. Now, Dana Brooke versus Cassie. Though the Total Diva thought she could toy with the NXT newcomer Cassie, she quickly learned that the Australian Diva was no pushover. While Cassie put up a fight and surprised Dana on several occasions, Brooke powered her way to victory, winning the match with a fireman's carry slam. Now, for a tag team, when I mentioned earlier on during the Raw pre-show, the Raw review and Raw talking points, this is what Zack Ryder needs to do. He doesn't need to be going back on Raw and SmackDown and jobbing out to wrestlers. Stay out with that and continue with this, because I'm liking the direction he's going on NXT. The Hype Bros defeat Angelo Dawkins and Sawyer Fulton. Wow. Easy for me to say. Now collectively known as the Hype Brothers, the team of Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder charged into action this week on NXT. The amateur wrestling knowledge of Angelo Dawkins and Fulton was no match for the pure energy of the Hype Brothers, who picked up the victory with a devastating Spinebuster Rough Rider combination. NXT Tag Team Champions in the future for the Hype Brothers? I think so. Could be a new gel and a new tag team to add to the tag team division in WWE. Now for the main event, which saw Finn Balor and Rhino. Not only did Balor have to deal with the raging Rhino in the main event, but he had to keep an eye on the announcer's desk where Kevin Owens was watching. The number one contender was aggressive out of the gates, trading blows with the much larger man beast. Balor eventually sent Rhino to the arena floor and followed up with a huge dive over the ropes. The man beast took control back in the ring, trying to squeeze the air out of Balor's lungs with a bear hug. Rhino continued to work over the number one contender's midsection, but Balor fed off the support of the NXT universe and battled back. The demonic superstar even stopped Owens' attempted interference before hitting the coup de grace to put away the man beast. But just as the referee called for the bell to end the match, Owens pounced on Balor, pummeling him on the mat in the ring while Rhino was helping. It's clear as hell that Mr. Owens did not want to face Balor July the 4th, so he was getting some sort of message sent. Balor's night did not look like it was going to end well until Samoa Joe came to the rescue. The submission specialist, the Samoan submission machines, chased off Rhino and the NXT champion that Balor will fight another day, ensuring that is. And also, ladies and gentlemen, ensuring the fact that they will fight another day. Next week, in fact, because it was announced over the weekend or announced on WWE.com to a prospect at least, that it will be Rhino teaming with Kevin Owens to face Finn Balor and Samoa Joe next week on the NXT show. So be sure to check that out. And then a couple of days later, Saturday, July the 4th, it'll be Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens for the NXT Championship in Japan at a live event, which you can see on WWE Network. And I know I'll be watching as well, all being well. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the NXT main talking points. Thank you so much for listening for that, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back after this with Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor. So stay tuned. They say this is wrestling, but ladies and gentlemen, this is Progress Wrestling. And on July the 1st, Progress Wrestling comes to the Wrestling Matters podcast. That's right, Wednesday, July the 1st, I will present a podcast on Progress Wrestling, starting with Chapter 1, and from every week onwards, I will bring you every single show from that. ProgressWrestling.com, Progress Wrestling on demand service. Progress Wrestling comes to the Wrestling Matters podcast, July the 1st, only on SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, and OSW TV. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now it's time for Impact Wrestling. That's right. Kurt Angle kicked it off this week and tells EC3 that his campaign for the World Championship will be coming to an end. Angle says at bell to bell he'll prove that there's no one better than him. He demands to know the identity of his mystery opponent, the undefeated Ethan Carter III, enters the Impact Zone. He says it will only take one man to defeat him, and that Angle is only best for now. Angle says, like his mystery opponent this week, EC3 will tap out. EC3 interrupts, saying he's beaten everybody from the Icon Sting and Angle himself to the likes of Lashley and Bully Ray. Angle enraged EC3 by vowing again to make him tap. EC3 charges toward the ring, but thinks better of it, choosing instead to announce Angle's mystery opponent, Matt Hardy. Angle looks at Hardy as Hardy stares down the ramp. Now, the elimination match for the triple threat for the X Division Championship saw Grado, Tigre Uno, and Low Ki. Now, it culminated with this. I'll go through the whole thing because there's not much to talk about. Grado and Low Ki argue after the bell. Low Ki slaps Grado before throwing Tigre Uno from the ring. Low-Ki commands an early part of the match, and he sends Grado crashing into the mat. Tigre Uno rolls back into the ring, connecting with a head scissor to Low-Ki. Low-Ki sent through the ropes, and Grado surprises by holding his own against the high-flying Tigre Uno. Grado slams Tigre Uno to the mat, climbing up to the top rope. Low-Ki shoves him from the turnbuckle and delivers the Warrior's Way. Grado's eliminated by Low-Ki. Tigre Uno regains his composure and engages in a fast-paced aerial exchange with Low-Ki. Low-Ki turns the match in his favor by connecting with a springboard Hurricane Rana. He scores a near fall. Tigre Uno misses a springboard corkscrew dive. Low-Ki misses the dropkick, which creates an opportunity for Tigre Uno to connect with Sabertooth Splash to claim his first X Division Championship. Congratulations to Tigre Uno. The feud between the beautiful people, Velvet Sky and Angelina Love, still goes on, but a singles match was on this week, and it culminated with Angelina starts throwing Velvet around the ring like a rag doll, but when she heads to the top rope, Velvet capitalizes by dragging her from the rope. She connects with a series of kicks that culminates with a huge roundhouse kick to Angelina's head. Angelina attempts one more comeback but misses. The Botox injection sets her up for the stunner from Velvet Sky, and Velvet wins it. So this feud, is it over? We don't know. Guess we'll find out this week. The Dirty Heels, and the Wolves Best of 4 series, which gets tied by 2 falls apiece. And I'm guessing the final match will take place at Slammiversary. So it's 2 falls apiece now, which is in a way kind of predictable to me, because we all knew what was going to happen. Jeff Jarrett made his return to the Impact Zone. Jeff and Karen Jarrett surprised the Impact Zone. Jeff claims hell has frozen over. He asks the fans if they are curious to know why the owner of Global Force Wrestling is on Impact. He says he received a call from TNA officials last week asking him to return for one match. Jarrett says he was curious to know why they thought he'd wrestle for TNA, considering he doesn't even wrestle for his own promotion anymore. He reveals being asked to participate in the King of the Mountain match at Slammiversary. Jarrett recalls co-founding TNA and that match itself with his father. He says the consideration weighed heavy on him and did thoughts about with what his wife may think. Karen takes the mic and says she's different than Jeff. She says Jeff was in the past in their rearview mirror and that their family has moved on. Global Force Wrestling is their future. She says she advised Jeff to not call or text back. Karen says that despite being in the ring, she doesn't fully understand why they've returned to Impact Wrestling. She breaks down as she recalls a conversation with a confidant, Sanjay Dutt. She says during their conversation, Dutt revealed that her and Jeff didn't leave TNA Wrestling on his own terms, and that this would be the way to rectify that. Karen says she didn't get back into the Impact ring to watch her husband just go home. She says Jeff will leave the company. He agrees, saying he will do so on his own terms. He vows to walk down the aisle one more time and reign supreme at Slammiversary by leaving TNA as the King of the Mountain. That should be really interesting to find out. I'm actually looking forward to that King of the Mountain match. Seeing it anyway. Big Van Vader returns to confront Bram. Bram finds himself overpowered, but he maniacally laughs off his vulnerability. Vader connects with a series of clotheslines. Bram battles back with a series of rights. Bram unmasks Vader before slapping him in the face. Bram charges toward Vader, but Vader counters, exploding from the corner to the ground. The Pledge of Chesterfield. Bram rolls out of the ring and grabs a turnbuckle wire from beneath the ring. He uses the wire for a blatant disqualification. Bram assaults Vader until the Blueprint Matt Morgan comes out and makes the save. What's Bram gonna do now? Melendez and Eric Young have their grudge match, which ends in Young applies a rear chinlock. When Melendez breaks free, he's powered down to the mat and Young attempts to rip off the prosthetic leg again. Melendez fends him off, but Young proves too much when he nails the pile driver for the victory. The BDC brawls with the Rising throughout the Impact Zone. Hernandez makes his return to tip the scales and leave Drew Galloway motionless in the center of the ring. This is going to end at bell to bell. It's got to. The main event sees Matt Hardy and Kurt Angle. Now, it all ends with Hardy misses a moonsault and Angle catches Hardy with two more German suplexes. Hardy counters a third and then he counters another Angle slam attempt. Hardy connects with two more side effects and a twist of fate. Angle's shoulder barely comes off the mat when Hardy attempts another twist of fate. Angle drops him and applies the ankle lock to earn a submission victory. Post-match, EC3 and Tyrus attack Kurt Angle. Matt fends off Tyrus though, and Angle applies the ankle lock to EC3. EC3 taps. Is that what's going to happen at bell to bell? We shall see. Hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned after this quick timeout. I'll be back with Ring of Honor, so stay tuned. Be sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Madness Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only. ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland. Well, I'll be reviewing their shows. Oh my God! Talking ICW.
That's 13-14!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Madness Podcast Extra ICW podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name.
Here we fucking go!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Now, I want to bring you the Ring of Honor review, but before I do that, I've got to talk about Best in the World 2015, which took place June 19th in New York City. Now, I've seen the show, great show from top to bottom, unbelievable, and I will go through what happened and the results of it. Mark Briscoe beat Donovan Dijak. Adam Page and BJ Whitmer the Decade defeated Matt Sydal and ACH. Dalton Castle beats Silas Young. It's spelled S-I-L-A-S. Sorry if that's spelled wrong. Or said wrong, rather. War Machine defeat Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexandra. A short match where Coleman refused to tag out and lost it in about 3 minutes. They did an angle where Alexandra broke up the team. Well, because Cedric's going a different way now. I'll get to that in a second. Roderick Strong defeats Michael Logan and Moose, and he pinned Moose, so that's another loss to go with on Moose. Vader Scott got into it with Moose for losing and for shaking hands with Roderick Strong, and slapped him twice. Cedric Alexandra came out and attacked Moose with the wrench again, and it looks like Vader's found herself a new guy. AJ Styles and the Young Bucks defeat Adam Cole and the Kingdom. Tons of high spots and tons of fast-paced stuff between these two teams. And yes, Maria Kanellis took a triple kick to the face. I believe it was a super kick. Chris Daniels and Kazarian retained the tag team titles in a no disqualification match thanks to Kazarian and Daniels hitting Celebrity Rehab to retain the belts. And the title versus title match, Lethal now holds both belts and becomes the undisputed Ring of Honor World Champion, unifying the championship, the TV title, and the world champion, and proving that Jay Lethal is the number one man in Ring of Honor. Now, that leads to the TV show this past week, which saw Roderick Strong and Shinsuke Nakamura kick off the show. Chain wrestling into mat wrestling to start off. Roderick working the arm. Leg lariat gets a near fall. Strong locks a bow and arrow into a chin lock. Angle slam gets Strong a near fall. Hard running knee. Then a knee to the back of the head by Nakamura. Then he hits another knee on the outside as Ring of Honor goes to a break. Back from the break, both men are going toe-to-toe in the middle of the ring. Baseball, basement, dropkick, whatever you want to call it, on Nakamura outside by Strong. Running knee, elbow combo, then a slam dunk, which is a gut buster, but driving the knees into the back of Nakamura, gets Strong a near fall. Nakamura locks a sleeper, then hits a backcracker, then a suplex. Strong hits a knee on Nakamura while Nakamura was on the second rope. Then sidewalk slams him on the turnbuckle. Strong gets a near fall. Nakamura hits a knee off the second rope. Strong hits double knee gut buster. Strong then locks a stronghold on Nakamura, breaks it though. Toe-to-toe in the center of the ring. Strong hits sick kick, then suplex into backbreaker and gets a near fall. Nakamura takes a knee, then hits a super kick like move and gets the victory. Then it was on to Guido and Michael Elgin. Power advantage to start off this match with Michael Elgin. Strength edge with Elgin, quickness with Guido. Follow-away slam, Elgin gets a near fall. Hanging suplex gets Elgin a near fall again. Elgin makes a mistake, Guido fights back, hits a suplex and gets a near fall. A double stomp to the bank, buckle bomb, then sit out power bomb, Elgin wins the match. And then it was on to the main event, which was Okada and Roping Vice, if that's pronounced wrong I apologise, versus the Bullet Club. And that's Rocky Romero rather, and Barata, the Vice team. Feeling out process, Styles and Okada, one near fall each even so far. Nick goes for a DDT back and Barata catches him and hits another light suplex to get a near fall. Double team by the Vice team gets a near fall, Romero in control. Barata wastes time on the apron rather, and takes a super kick for his trouble by, I believe it was Matt Jackson who got the super kick. Barata in control of the Bullet Club. Great triple team offense by the Bullet Club. Let me rephrase that again. Barata at the control of the Bullet Club. Great triple team offense by Bullet Club. Matt doing his best Y2J impersonation when he was in WCW, and he used to do that, and early days of WWE as well, when he used to put his foot on the opponent and then do the muscle pose, which was classic Y2J. Carl Anderson gets involved on the outside a little bit and double team by the Young Bucks. Suplex in the corner by Styles. Bullet Club in control as ROH goes to break. Back from the break, Barata fighting back against the Young Bucks and Styles. Barata hits double stomp on Nick Jackson. Barata goes for the tag, but Matt and AJ stop that attempt. Running knee gets Nick a near fall. Nick goes for Swanton. Barata gets his knees up and tags in Romero. Fight back on. Romero hits double Hurricane Rana on both the Young Bucks. Matt hits a super kick on Romero, hits a massive clothesline. Okada gets tagged in and fight back on. Okada hits a DDT, then uppercut, and gets a near fall. Quick pace counter wrestling. Okada hits a cradle neck breaker, then goes up top and takes a super kick. Triple team on Nick by Vice team and Okada. Romero hits running knee off the apron, knocking Matt off Barata's shoulders like if it was the Doomsday device. Outside, then Barata takes a dropkick from Styles. Styles hits a brainbuster on Okada, then Okada counters Styles Clash into a tombstone. Great stuff in this match, man. Awesome main event. Slingshot facebuster on Romero, then hits a DDT on the outside. Nick Jackson is just too sweet. Buckle bomb Insaguri combo, then a senton gets Young Bucks a near fall. Barata suplexes Matt off the top rope. Romero dives on Nick on the outside. Okada hits an elbow on Matt. Okada takes a forearm from Styles. Vice looking to double team Styles, but both Barata and Romero take a super kick from Nick. Okada dropkick Styles, stopping any Styles Clash attempt. Awesome main event. The 6 men brawl in the ring. Styles and the Young Bucks super kick their 3 adversaries. Okada fights back versus the Bullet Club, but takes a super kick and a Pele kick for his troubles. Bullet Club hit on Barata the following: an assisted power driver, which was lifting up one of the Young Bucks and spiking Barata while he was in a power driver position from Styles, and then they pass it on to the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks do an assisted tombstone, and then pass Barata back to Styles. The Young Bucks super kick him, and then Styles hits the Styles Clash for the victory for the Bullet Club in what was an awesome Ring of Honor television show. And I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5 because a lot of quick-paced wrestling, a lot of great wrestling, and probably the reason why Ring of Honor is very hot at the moment. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Ring of Honor review. I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't seen the Ring of Honor show, go and check it out. And you can watch it now on ROHWrestling.com. And until then, I'll be back after this with the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Just a little quick promotions and what's to come in the future on the podcast. So stay tuned. If you're a fan of the Wrestling Matters podcast, be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters podcast Twitter page at WM Podcast for news, reviews, and upcoming episodes, and you will be let know on various other topics as well in the world of professional wrestling. So if you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, be sure to follow the Wrestling Matters podcast on Twitter at WM Podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. They say this is wrestling, but ladies and gentlemen, this is Progress Wrestling. And on July the 1st, Progress Wrestling comes to the Wrestling Matters podcast. That's right, Wednesday, July the 1st, I will present a podcast on Progress Wrestling, starting with Chapter 1, and from every week onwards, I will bring you every single show from that. ProgressWrestling.com, Progress Wrestling on demand service. Progress Wrestling comes to the Wrestling Matters podcast, July the 1st, only on SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, and OSW TV. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back to the Wrestling Matters podcast, the final part. Before I get on to the quick promotions and what's to come, just want to give a quick shout out to Sunday Segway, OSW TV, our affiliates, oswtv.co.uk. You can listen and check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on that website. So be sure to check it out and give them some support. They're the Wrestling Matters podcast affiliates, and we love them for it. Check them out on Twitter as well, OSW TV and Voice of OSW. Check out Offshoot Radio as well. Check out The Altered Angle, and check out the other crew as well on there as well, the Sedgeheads. Shout out to all the Sedgeheads on Twitter world and the professional wrestling world. Also check out RFPW Official as well. They're are our partners because the guy who runs that Twitter site is helping me out on the Weebly website as well. I'm trying to get some things sorted out for that Weebly website, but I'm trying to get it up as best I can and get it to the best that it can be, where I'm making some money from it or having some fun with it and presenting it to you guys so you know where to go when it goes up. But I'm having a bit of trouble with it, but hopefully sometime soon that'll be knocked out ASAP, in fact. Now, for the Wrestling Matters podcast, as you well know, Progress Wrestling is the Progress Wrestling podcast starts this Wednesday, guys. You can see it on SoundCloud, or you can hear it on SoundCloud, OSW TV as well, Stitcher Radio, hopefully, and YouTube. So be sure to check that out as well. I'm not on Podomatic anymore. I'm done with that. I didn't get any use from it, to be honest with you. But I'm looking out for various other podcast sites as well. I'm doing my research on that. I just want to bring the best podcast that I can bring you with the best professional wrestling out there. So look out for that this Wednesday. Also check out the ICW podcast tomorrow as well. And speaking of the ICW podcast, I just want to let you know that on the ICW podcast, I know we're in beginning of July, end of June, but this November I'm not going to be doing any big shows like the Fear and Loathing shows until November. So on the ICW podcast this coming November, because November 15th is Fear and Loathing, the big show, Fear and Loathing 2015, featuring Mick Foley. But during that month, I'm going to be reviewing past Fear and Loathings. So basically, the ICW podcast in November will be Fear and Loathing month. It'll be nothing but Fear and Loathing. So be sure to check that out. That's where you're going to hear all the Fear and Loathing podcasts from that point on in November. Well, the best that I can do. And hopefully, and as well, we'll throw in the new one as well. I will be reviewing that, and I'll be definitely watching it at some point. Be sure to check out, I will be reviewing ICW's first UK tour as well, featuring the return of Drew Galloway. And also check out in July as well, this coming in July, I will review in July, leading in to Shug's Hoose Party 2, I will be reviewing the first one in July as well, so be on the lookout for that. Lots to come on the Wrestling Matters podcast, lots to come on the big podcast as well. For more information on TWT Wrestling as well, the official TWT on Twitter and Facebook.com/TWT Wrestling. Be sure to check them out. I'm trying to get some information for you guys, but the guys haven't got back to me yet. So when I do, you'll be the first to know on what to do. There's a couple of months away. Their first show is in October, so we've got a couple of months away. We've got plenty of time though, but I want to get the information out there and know what the hell I'm dealing with. So if the guys are listening to this podcast, please hook me up, okay? Please get in touch with me ASAP. I've already emailed you. Please reply to that email back. It'll be greatly appreciated. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Hair Anthony Walker. You have been a beautiful audience. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Wrestling Matters podcast, taking the time to tune in and listen to the most fun podcast in the world. Hopefully in the coming weeks I'll get some guests on and we're going to have some more fun. But until then, what it is what it is. I am Anthony Walker, the HD at the end of the day. You have been awesome. Thank you, and good night.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes, 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 yes!
That's 1314!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.